Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first Dearborn School Board of Trustees meeting of the year here, January 11th, 2024. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item tonight is board organization. So we need to elect new board officers. First one to elect would be president.
Jimmy, I think you're doing a great job.
Okay.
I back that up.
Thank you. Yeah,
Keeping it?
I'm up for keeping it. Unless somebody else
Anybody else got it?
hankering for it wants to do it.
Keep up the good work.
Okay. So
I'll make a motion. Jamie?
Mr. Scholl makes a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. To vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. I am the new president, or the old president. I want to look at it. All right, next item is vice president. Do we have any nominations for vice president? None?
Guess that's what happens.
It can. It's been known to happen. Are you good with doing
Yeah,
it
it's
again?
fine. Yeah, sure.
Anyone else? All right,
All good.
so
I'll move.
Mr. Davis, the motion. Can I get an official second?
I'll second.
Miss- All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Joel is the vice president. And secretary.
On.
Don? You up
Okay.
for it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Hilton with the nomination, so just need a second.
Second.
Bueller, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We now have new officers. Moving on to item 3.2, we have some more appointments to make. First ones are the treasurer and assistant treasurer. And currently those are, or should I say last year, that was Ms. Baines and Tammy Vonderhyde. And I think we want to keep those the same, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, do we do these all at once or each one individually? Do we need to vote?
You should do each one, like you can do treasurer, assistant, as they're listed on the agenda.
As they're listed, okay. All right,
I move.
all right.
Second.
Mr. Davis, Mr. Scholl, any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next one is the Indiana School Board Association representative. Need a nomination for that. Last year it was Ms. Hilton.
So are you still up for that?
I'll do it again if nobody else
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Keller. Mr. Bueller.
wants. Nominate you next.
Everybody's.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Hilton retains her position. All right, next one is the legislative liaison representative. Previously, that was Mr. Geller, but I understand Mr. Bueller is interested in that position.
I nominate.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Bueller, you are the new legislative liaison. All right, next one is recording secretary. That should remain as,
I think you do a great job, Sherry.
all right. So moved.
So moved.
Mr. Scholl with the motion, Mr. Davis with the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item is the Endowment Corporation. Let's see. So prior that was Ms. Burke, Mr. Davis. from the
Good.
board?
I'm good if Tom is.
Dawn is too. I think Dawn does the book.
Dawn,
She said
you're
right.
good? Okay, and then I think we also have, what is the situation with Churchgate?
I've never heard back, but I would go ahead and, is Denise still your PTO president? I would go ahead and nominate her, and I'll follow up with her, and if something changes, we can.
Okay, so can I have a motion for those three individuals?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Scholl. Ms. Hilton, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to the Board of Finance. I think the last couple years, we've done the entire board. Probably should keep that the same. So,
We
let's,
nominate
Good idea.
ourselves.
we're nominating ourselves essentially. Yeah. I get an official motion? Mr. Davis, thank you. About a second. Thank you, Ms. Hilton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. The next one is the redevelopment commission representative. That actually is not ours currently. That position currently resides with another school within the county and will this year. And next year, that may change and it may come back to us. But for right now, we don't have anyone to appoint there. Okay.
I think that's it.
And that's it for that. Now we have to approve our meeting dates, which were listed here. Essentially, it's the second Thursday of each month, which is what we've been doing. The exception to that would be we move for fall break to the first Thursday, and that's it. So, is everyone good with those dates? All right. Official,
Motion to approve?
yes. Thank you, Mr. Bulak. Second?
Sure.
Scholl, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is the board compensation. That would be the same as it has been. I don't have any issue with that. Does anybody want to change anything there? Okay, then motion, we need a motion to
I
approve.
move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. About a second. Thank you, Mr. Bulak. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And lastly is we have a stack of conflict of interest statements. We need to approve. I
So
don't
moved.
think we normally list those, do we?
It's up to you. It's,
I don't think we need to list them. We're good. Need a motion to approve. Mr. Scholl, thank you. How about a second? Mr. Davis, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. That is all of the housekeeping we need to do. We will now move on to public comments. Do we have any public comments this evening? Okay, no public comments, so we will move on to our consent agenda.
it's in your packets. The first item is the regular board meeting minutes from December 14th. Typo there on the agenda. It should be the December 14th. We have the claims for payment. You have an updated revised personnel report. The changes are highlighted. We have two recommendations for medical leave. We have the following recommendations for hires, for employment. Jordan Whitaker, East Central High School Intensive Supervised Study. Abby Huber, East Central High School Homebound Teacher. Christy Andrus, East Central Middle School Homebound Teacher. Paul Wood, East Central Middle School Custodian. George Atkinson, Bright Elementary Custodian. Jennifer Julg, East Central High School Food and Nutrition Associate. Carly Earhart, East Central High School JV Softball Coach. Barbara Clifton, East Central High School Instructional Assistant. We have 3 resignations. Tanya Myers, East Central High School Instructional Assistant. Heather Nix, Bright Elementary Instructional Assistant. Charles Jeffries, East Central High School Custodian. We have the following overnight field trips. East Central High School FCCLA State Conference. The state officers will be departing February 27th, returning March 2nd. The student council will be going to their state convention, departing February 29th, returning March 1st. The FCCLA membership will be attending the state conference, departing February 29th and returning March 2nd. I recommend approval of the consent agenda items.
So move.
Mr. Geller? A second. Second. Mr. Davis, any discussion on the consent agenda? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to our action items this evening. First one being the architect contract.
Yes, we had no files for petitions or petitions filed over a 30-day waiting period, so we're now moving forward with the second phase of the building project. So you have a contract, which is an AIA document, B133-2019, which is a standard architect-owner agreement. It's the same that we used last time with Lancer Associates. It's based on $34 million of construction costs. The total price is $2,210,000. This was reviewed by our attorneys at Ice Miller, who's helping with the various legal components. So I recommend approval of the contract with Lancer Associates.
Okay. A motion to approve that contract. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bueller. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 6.2.
Yes, just one more item, I'm sorry, one more comment on 6.1. Is in your packet, you have that timeline again, just so you know, in February and March, we have several resolutions we'll have to pass as we move through the various legal pieces of it as well. And then Frank's going to take care of the building corporation as well at March 14th.
Okay.
And then, yes, on 6.2 is various transfer of appropriations between categories. Do you want me to read through these?
It's in our packet. I don't. Does anybody else want to read through those?
I don't think there's,
Yeah.
unless somebody wants to hear them.
So these are just various appropriations that we need to move between categories. It doesn't change the amount we spend or anything like that. It's just to place
Different
the
buckets.
So I recommend approval of that resolution.
Okay. We have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Mr. Scholl. We have a second. Thank you, Ms. Hilton. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving right along to item 7, which is Director of Financial Operations Report.
Yes, I'll be reviewing the financial report for December of '23. In your packet, the first 2 pages is the fund report. You can see that we ended the education fund on December 31 with just over 2.2 million. Our operations at 2.4 million and our rainy day at 5.7. Would like to draw your attention to the textbook rental. That is account 0900. It's about a third of the way down. You can see the second column is period to date receipts. We received $590,187.56 from the state. That was new this year, where schools were no longer allowed to charge for textbook rental. We haven't done that for a while, but that was the amount that we received from the state. We weren't really sure how that was going to work. We had a lot of conflicting guidance, and it was really difficult to follow along. So we received that sometime in late December. So we now know the amount that we received for that piece of it. The other accounts on the right that you see there in the negative are the reimbursable accounts. Those are where we spend the money, then turn in receipts to the state, and they reimburse us. So overall, we ended the year with $12.7 million in the bank. The next page there is the education fund. You can see the final expenditures for that, and then the final revenue as well. Overall, across both funds, we ended with education fund with 2.2 million and operations fund with right under 2.5 million. With rainy day at the 5.7, it was a total of just under $10.5 million. We started with about just under 10.8, so it went from 10.75 million down to 10.47 million, so a slight decrease in this cash balance. I would like to remind the board that for some reason the state was behind on the academic achievement part of the state revenue, so that finally got reconciled this month. Actually, just yesterday I found it. They were paying us $160,000 for that when it's actually supposed to be $400,000. So that's based on college credits, Indiana core, and associate's degree that were given during the 21-22 school year. And we were underfunded. Normally what they do is the counts come in through the first semester. In November, December, they kind of they go back, look how much we owe you, how much we paid, and they kind of make up the difference. We were told we were going to get that reconciled in December, and it never happened. So that 10.47 should be closer to 10.6 million is what it should be. So we will receive that over the next 6 months in the payments, an additional 20 to 30,000 for those payments. So I wanted to make everyone aware of that as well. Any questions on the December financial report?
So on the textbook going forward, is it a formula? Is it a per student?
It's a dollar amount per student. What we weren't sure about is they made all the schools submit information to them, which we were a little confused why they were doing that. So we weren't sure if it's going to be percent of what we sent them, or is this going to be a flat amount for all students across the state. It ended up being a flat amount for all students across the state. That's why we got shy of the 600,000.
Okay. All right, very good. Moving on to item 8, SDEA comments. Nothing this evening, all right. And on to principal comments.
Good evening, everyone. The week before break was jammed-packed with holiday activities and lots of just fun and kind of chaos, right before Christmas break. We had staff pitch-in, Secret Santa, students having themed dress-up days, a planned visit from Santa for our kindergartners, and then also an unplanned visit from the Grinch. The Grinch did not stay very long, though. Community service was that Wednesday, December 20th of that week. And again, we're just appreciative of having all the middle school students come over, work in our classrooms, and help our teachers and just provide that community service. So we thank Jamie and the middle school for help organizing the transportation and everything that goes into that, because we know there's a lot of planning. We also, that week, we had our core activities. Students can earn core cash for making good behavior choices and also achieving well with academics. And then they were able to spend that core cash in various ways: extra recess, core store, pictures with friends, and just other activities around our school. So just kind of a cool incentive. This week, our PE teacher, Lisa Tyler, has provided some ninja course time, which I believe all the elementaries have ninja course going on right now in the gymnasiums. And so students could pay some extra to get just about 20, 30 minutes of extra PE time, essentially, is what that turned out to be this week. So if you haven't heard, Bright Elementary School loves to dance on Fridays. So every Friday morning after our morning announcements, we usually play a 3 to 4 minute kid-friendly song, and the students and teachers get out in the hallways and dance. Well, that Friday before break, Miss Keck and our chorus, they decided, they asked if they could sing to our staff. And so that was our dance party Friday, so listening to them sing. And right now, I would just like to recognize all of our chorus members who are made up of a bunch of 4th and 5th graders. So we have Isabella Candle, Brianna Allison, Marlee Knowles, Luke Vest, Catalina Hall, Eric Powers, Evelyn Burke, Trey Brown, Karsten Russell, Alice Schindler, Jackson Knowles, Lila Jones, Laurel Brinson, Carter Walden, Riley Brayton, and Ava Hampton. Brennan Kappa, Emerson McFeely, Vivian Riga, Bailey Piney, Allie Dahl, Sophia Gomad, Isaiah Hawker-Smith, Dixie Wagers, Dahlia Fusion, and Savannah Dick. So those students have performed a lot this year. And looking ahead, we're looking forward to next Wednesday's early release. We're doing at NWA Data Dive. And then also Monday, January 22nd, will mark the 100th day of school. So looking to finish the year strong. Thank you.
I like the fact that you gave certificates to kids. The NWA, I saw it on Facebook. The top scores, did you also do growth?
Yeah. So the NWA certificates that you're referencing, that was for high scores for reading and math, but also for students who showed the most improvement
Yes.
from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. So that way it could kind of cover a wide variety and just get some recognition. Ultimate goal is to raise our scores.
Everybody up?
Very good.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Collier.
Good evening. I'm excited to announce that Summit Elementary did come up on top on the donation war, and that was quite an exciting thing for our, the smallest of schools. That even without the equalizer, we donated more than the other two elementaries. But again, what is so special about that is that the middle school did pack sacks directly for our students. So we have a bunch of sacks going out. We were able to send them out before break, and it's just really good to use that to teach, to see what needs are in the community and what we can do to meet them. I was really proud of my student council led by Mrs. Campbell, just on overtaking that big project. They did a fantastic job. And then Mr. Mormon at the high school and his students 3D printed the trophy. So hopefully that's just a fun tradition that sinks in, and every year the competition is on. We do monthly meetings with our elementary principals, and one of the things that came out of it today is just a celebration is we have the implementation of the Science of Reading plan across the district. We created a tier 1, what the expectations are, and available materials. But we said this year it's optional. Use your coaches this year to be ready to implement it next year. And we came out of that meeting and all K-1-2 teachers are utilizing the phonics program UFly. So we see that as a victory and a step ahead before next year. On the first day back, the Detective Stevens came from Dearborn County and trained all my certified staff on Stop the Bleed. He will be back to train the non-certs, as every classroom at Summon does have a Stop the Bleed kit because of the Ripley County Commission. And also just pretty exciting, our plow has arrived and Kurt and his crew are ready to take on any winter weather that comes our way.
Good.
I really enjoy and all the elementaries do this pretty well, the showing instruction and the different types of instruction going on. I mean, I was fascinated by this medical physicist.
Yes.
Where was she from?
I don't have the answer to that, but
Right.
Mrs. Lunsford is especially great at just...
there's a picture of her. So the kids are getting this
Yeah.
high quality speak
Yep.
wherever she is. She
Yep.
could be anywhere in the world, I guess.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy seeing what's going on in the classroom.
Thank you.
I'm just curious what the internal wager was between you and the other two principals.
Can't disclose it.
Can't say. It's kind of
Come on, Jeff, what was it?
Mr. Schultz. I have a Sunman Elementary shirt, but I'm just. We should have done something like that, right? Loser has to wear a shirt. Something I got a Sunman sheet on the back of my head. Welcome back. It's been a fun first week back. Kids came back super excited. We're excited. We have a renewed focus here. Second semester, we get the first semester out of the way, and we challenge each other to stay focused and keep working hard on those things that we set out to do and continue to do that. The Community Service Day was a huge success again every year. I'm amazed. You think about the moving parts and what those middle school staff and transportation department and those students are able to do. It's amazing. Our kids love it. Those kids love it. I'm glad we're able to do it again this year. We are excited about the early release day to look at that mid-year data from our NWA and really dig deep to look at what we need to do for students and continue that work. And I'd like to just thank our custodial staff for all the work they do to keep our buildings safe and clean. We do have some things coming up. PTO movie night. They're showing the new Trolls movie that's on the 19th. And then the 5th grade scheduling meeting. So we're excited to get those 5th graders. It's hard to believe it's that time of year already that we're talking about 5th grade moving on to 6th grade and getting ready for that next year. Sorry for any parents who are losing one or moving one to the middle school, but I know that's challenging, but they're in good hands over there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bond.
All right, welcome back. A couple things before break and then some upcoming things here after. Obviously, the big one is that Community Service Day. Before on our last board meeting, I hadn't experienced it yet. Thanks to Kelly and Jamie for coming down to make sure I survived it. I think when I checked my watch at the end of the day, I had about 30,000 steps going around the building. So I slept well the night of, and I was dragging the last 2 days when we came back. But it was an absolutely huge success. We had 500 plus kids out in the community, from nursing homes to the food banks to local businesses, and major shout out to Jamie for the transportation piece of that, and the contractors. I reached out to those, the ones that donated their time, and bus drivers to get our kids where they were going. And then a shout out to our kids, all the positive reflections back of, hey, your kids were well behaved, and that, you've got that many middle school kids out, you're holding your breath all day like, oh, I hope they acted and they behaved well. And they did. Everybody reported back that they were well behaved and they did what they were supposed to do, giving back to the community. And then thanks to the elementary principals for having them over there. That can sometimes disrupt the day too, having something different in your building. So thanks to them for having them. So, and then the other piece, our NWEA, we promised all our kids, and just a simple thing, an ice cream sandwich if they improved on their NWEA, show that growth like Michael was talking about, just improve in some way. And we had about 97% of our kids show some type of growth from the beginning of the year to the end. So something like an ice cream sandwich, they all wanted it. And then when we brought them out, it was like a rock concert to get those, just a $1 ice cream sandwich to show that they improved on that growth there. Couple upcoming things. We've been working on the Geography Bee with Mr. Jackson, our Social Studies Department head. They've been running that through their classrooms, and then they're going to have their championship tomorrow morning. So look on Facebook and Twitter for our Geography Bee champion for our school. We'll be putting that out there. The Spelling Bee, they've been doing the same thing, kind of breeding that competition within our school. They've been doing that within their classes. And then they're actually going to do their school championship on January 25th, so here in a couple weeks. And then that winner will actually move on to regionals in Cincinnati. So there's more of an official capacity than the Geography Bee. Hopefully in the future we'll get a more official capacity with the Geography Bee. Upcoming, we have our extra night for incoming sixth graders, where they can come in the building, tour the building, meet the administration, meet guidance counselors, talk about scheduling, see all the different things that they can get involved in, from athletics to clubs and all, choir, band, those sort of things. So that way it kind of eases that stress when they don't have to wait all summer to see what the building is, meet some of their teachers, meet some of the coaches. They can come in and kind of walk through it on their own. So we'll do that on January 25th. And then winter athletics, boys basketball is wrapping up their last regular season game tonight. And then their end of the season tournaments next week. Girls basketball, first game next week. And then wrestling, they had their first scrimmage last night. And then they'll start their first meets.
And Black.
I'll start with academics at the high school, finishing up finals, going into Christmas, and quarter two grades are in and finalized, and just over 54% of our students made honor roll, all A's and B's, and nearly 1/3 of our student body would be all A's. I always try to share those at the end of quarters, and proud of the efforts of our students and staff to keep our kids reaching to excel. Jeff mentioned it's hard to believe it's that time of year again. Our January and right at the start of February are always full with scheduling meetings, as we're already looking at next year. In fact, next week our counselors will be meeting with every next year senior, finalizing the last of their 4-year plan and looking at graduation already for 25. So we're in the midst of that at the beginning of this semester, like we are at the beginning of each second semester. In the arts, shout out to band and choir. Hopefully, I know some of you made it out. 2 wonderful Christmas concerts going into the break. And then I would send a special congratulations to Chloe Stewart, who was invited just before the break, but it was official just this past week coming back. She's been invited to sing at the Girls Basketball State Championships in February. So that will be broadcast on IHSA TV. It's always nice to see our EC kids representing in any capacity at a state level. In sports, just this past Monday, rescheduled because of the weather that came in Friday, EIAC champions, both boys and girls in swimming. Our wrestlers take to the mats, pending weather, on Saturday at South Dearborn for what we hope will be their sixth straight conference championship. They're having quite a bit of success this year, and I will segue a little bit. Girls wrestling is not officially a sport yet in Indiana under the IHSAA, but there's been a girls wrestling state tournament series for a number of years. And Tegan Caudell and Lena Prater competed at the semi-state level competition this past Friday in Muncie. Last year, Tegan did advance to the state round, and this year, Lena advanced to the state round. She will wrestle tomorrow in Kokomo at the Girls Wrestling State Championship. So I would certainly wanted to mention them and their successes as well. We'll be having our Winter Spirit Week, the last full week in January 22nd. That will start with dress-up days and lunchtime activities and competitions to raise the spirit in our school, and then we will culminate that with a pep session that Wednesday. Got a number of sports events going on that week. Hopefully we can get some kids out and celebrate our winter sports teams. And lastly, a big thank you, I think, is in order to the efforts of our AOK, of our student council, of our FCCLA, of our yearbook group, for all of the giving efforts that they put on from late November through the holidays. That spirit of kindness practiced so consistently by our students is because of the wonderful staff that we have and the examples that they set for our kids. And I know we're into January, and yet there hasn't hardly been a day I don't get an email from an FCCLA student looking for opportunities for star events, and nearly all of them are contributing back to our community and to those less fortunate. So I always save that for last because I think those are the things that make it most special. Thank you.
Mr. Black. All right, moving on to superintendent comments.
Yes, excuse me. As a reminder, Monday is a snow makeup day for Martin Luther King Day, and we have not had a snow day, so we will have Monday off, assuming we have school tomorrow. We will have Monday off, and then we also have a snow makeup day on February President's Day, so we have two of those built-in snow makeup days. We get to Monday without having a snow day, then the first snow day we have will be made up in February, and then we'll go to the e-learning. So we're doing both the traditional snow days and the e-learning days. You would think that would give everyone an opportunity to be happy. It's unfortunately it's not. It's everyone can complain, so that's good. So we'll take that too. Two Indiana Code potential bills that have been filed that the board should be aware of. IREAD 3 scores, they want to see improvement on IREAD 3 scores, particularly there's concern across the state on how many get what's called a good cause exemption and get promoted to fourth grade without passing IREAD 3. It's not a concern around here. We're typically in the 92, low 90s percentage range of students. The state goal is 95%. There's some large urban schools that I think is a real problem, but that really skews the scores because there's so many students in those areas. There's going to be some legislation potentially requiring students who do not pass IREAD 3 to be retained in third grade for up to 2 years. Currently, if they don't have a good cause exemption, you have to give them third grade reading instruction, but they are promoted to fourth grade, but they receive third grade reading instruction. We don't have that situation here, but this law would require that they are retained. So make the board aware of that. I'm not sure what will happen with it. Starting out in the Senate. The other is truancy. The state is very concerned about what they call habitual truancy. Again, not a large issue in this area, but it would create a committee, really the Department of Child Services and the courts would kind of take the lead on that, where they would have to provide some additional support for these students that are habitually truant. It has been an issue since COVID that students just are not coming to school as often as they need to. So those are two big pushes from the state. There'll be some other surprises like there are. But we know those two are going to happen. So, and then finally, January is Board Appreciation Month. So I'd like to thank the board, the school board, for all you do. I mean, around here every month is School Board Appreciation Month, but officially it's January. So I thank all of you for what you do and for our students. That's all I have.
Okay. Very good, thank you. All right. Any board comments this evening? Maybe?
Yes, I'm just very opposed to retention for third grade reading. I think that's, I will email and stuff. I just don't think that's a good solution. Good politics, but it's not a good solution. I think other than death of a parent, the second most traumatic thing for a kid is retention. And I think there's other ways to work that besides a blanket retention. I'm opposed to it.
Anyone else? All right. And that leaves one thing, adjournment. We have a motion.
Motion.
Ms. Hilton, do we have a second?
Sure.
Mr. Scholl? All those in favor?
Aye.
Wrong.
Okay, everybody move. Oh, you guys put it away.
Howard, come on.
Just gotta pass out papers.
Now, I will call to order the Board of Finance meeting, which pretty straightforward. So we'll do call to order, and the first thing we need to do is elect board official.
Need a president and a secretary.
Right.
Were they last year?
Our administrator's allowed to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah.
Run.
No.
I wouldn't stay if I was you.
We'll have a busy board.
Gary says you can leave. I say you should stay. You guys do what you want. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I can see the antsiness back.
That's one of the just to let you know that. Yeah, you have a busy one.
Okay, we need a president and a secretary. I think it was me. Pretty sure.
Oh, would you like it again?
It's
I
fine.
think
It's
you and
pretty
Don.
straightforward. So yeah, it's probably simple.
I'd say you do a great job, Jamie.
Super. All right. We have a motion. We have a second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We need a secretary now. Who would like to be the secretary?
About Dawn.
Not Don. All right. We have a motion for Mr. Davis. Do we have a second? Second. Bueller, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Don is the secretary. All right. Moving on. We need, let's see, we have a financial investment report. Dr. Jackson.
In your packet is the financial investment reports. It shows zero across there. We do not have any investments. We keep everything in our local checking and savings account at FCN. We negotiated a rate with them. It's just 15 basis points below the Fed rate. The Fed rate is currently 5.33, so we are receiving 5.18% interest, which is very good. We received about $480,000 in interest this past year, which is helping mitigate some of the inflation on some of the supplies and things like that. So that's the investment report. Any questions on that?
All right. Moving on, we have Board Policy 6144.
Yes, you're required to review the board policy, which is basically compliant with Indiana Code. It's policy number 6144, and it's in your packet.
Okay. Moving on, we have a 5-year forecast.
Yes, so we are required to do a financial conditions report, which we've done a financial forecast, and I modified that to be compliant with what's called the Distressed Units Appeal Board, DUAB, Financial Indicators Report. That's Senate Enrolled Act 549 requires that we do this every year. So first we'll talk about revenue and expenses on the actual forecast. It's in your packet along with the presentation. For the education fund, it goes from left to right with the categories in the first most recent 3 years and then the next 5 years. So it shows the category, expenses at the top, revenues at the bottom. 21, 22, 23 are actual, and then 24 through 28 show the projections. Overall, as should be expected, about 94.6% of our education fund expenses are in salaries and benefits. So the salaries for administrators, teachers, counselors, instructional assistants, school nurses, media specialists, coaches, sponsors, and administrative assistants all come out of the education fund. Overall, the expenses increased in 2023 by about $1.2 million, and that was mostly as a result of salary increases and increases in benefits as well, particularly insurance. On the revenue side at the bottom, you can see where it shows on line 18 where we transfer money. We are required or recommended that we transfer less than 15% of our education fund revenue from our state revenue, the state revenue, less than 15% of that into operations. We typically transfer around 5%. We are anticipating about 1.4 million, which is 4.8% for 2024. On the operations fund, again, the top are the categories for expenses. Down at the bottom are revenue. Moving left to right, on the left you have the 3 actual years, 21, 22, 23, followed by projections of 24 through 28. The expenses in operations for personnel, salary, and benefits is only 37.9%, so it's quite a bit less. It pays for some central office administrators and central office administrative assistants, technology support, transportation salaries, maintenance and custodians. And then the other are just operating expenses like utilities, contracted bus services is a very large expense, obviously, supplies, equipment, insurance, small projects, small amounts of equipment and things like that. So you can see on the revenue at the bottom, I'd point out the top revenue line is number 20. And as a reminder, in 2026, we pay off the pension debt. So each year we levy money for operations, and the amount of that money, nearly $1 million of it goes into the pension debt. So that will be paid off in 2025, and you can see a large increase in 2026 for that revenue. So if you look over the past, combining both the operation and education funds, the past revenue and projected and expenses, you can see this past year we just had a slightly less revenue than expense of about $250,000 or so. I think it's about $300,000, $280,000 I think is what it was. Moving forward though, 24 through 28, we have more revenue than expenses, and so that graph shows that. And then the next graph then shows the actual cash balances of the education operations and rainy day. And we've been maintaining between $10.5 and $11 million in those combined cash balances for the last few years. You can see it starts to increase each year. This year was just shy of 10.5, then it moves up to 10.7, and then starts to increase after that. And in terms of a percent, our goal is to be around 30%, so we're kind of holding right at that 27% right now, but you can see as we pay off that pension debt, it starts to increase, and by 27 and 28, we are above the 30%. Any questions on the expenses or revenues? The board asked last time that I used to show it with or without raises and without benefit increases for health insurance, so it's all with the raises as the board requested. So that includes the HSA contributions continuing. That's one of the assumptions made, that raises and increases in health insurance premium subsidies as well. So most of our revenue in the education fund is the state revenue, and that's based on our ADM, or average daily membership, which is our student count. So you can see this is the current projection. That second column is the current year. It actually went down a few students, 48 between last year and this year, which was a surprise. We thought we would actually grow by about 25, but you can see the projection shows that it rebounds and we continue to grow again. So this turned around for us about 2 years ago. It was showing a downward trend, and now it's showing an upward trend. This is from 2018 to give an example of that. Back in 2018, they had projected that this year we would have 3,476 students. If I go back a slide, you can see that we actually have 3,735, so about 300 more than what was projected a few years ago. Part of the reason for that growth is our out-of-district transfers. Even though we dropped overall, our out-of-district transfer actually increased again this year. So it's increased every year for the past several years. It was a 21-22 to 22-23, it only increased by 7, but this year it actually increased by an additional 25 students again this school year. So
Is
we're up
that
to
net?
291.
Net transfers?
It's not net. No, that's the total number of students here that are out of district, but we still have more than this that leave. So we used to be about a net of about negative 300. It's closer to negative 200 or 100 now. And the state will release a transfer report. They normally release it by now, but they still haven't released it this year. And I do track that to see if that's going down. It's been going down, but we're still a negative. This is a new set of slides here regarding the tax rate, because I know there's been some questions amongst the board and then the community about our tax rate and our building projects. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about both the tax rate and the tax levy. So the rate's the actual dollar amount, or the dollar amount that we apply towards the assessed value. So our tax rate is taken as multiplied by our assessed valuation or property value, and you get the dollar amount that you collect, which is the levy. So you can see here our tax rate has been pretty stable the last 10 years. It's actually, there's a slight drop from 15 to now, but we've tried to maintain a little between 120 and 115 the past several years. So this year it's $1.15, 1.1589. It's an increase from last year because it had dropped a little bit. We got it back up to that dollar, kind of that $1.15 range. So while our levy, or our tax rate, has stayed level, this shows the levy. So each year as AV grows, tax rate stays level, AV grows, so the amount of money we get grows as well, which is the way it's designed to work. So you can see last year we collected just over 15 million, and this year it's just over 15.5 million. So about an extra $500,000 we're collecting in taxes. That's our operations levy, pension debt, which part of that goes to pension debt, and then also our debt service. So those are the three. That's the combined total dollar amount that we receive. So overall, the average increase over the past 10 years, it's been 3.1%, I'd say 2.45% is what our average increase has been over the past 10 years. So it's kind of, the increased amount has kind of stayed with inflation, which is how it's supposed to work each year. You're supposed to get a little bit more. Part of this is controlled by the state, part of it is controlled by the board in terms of the building project and the debt service piece of it. So I wanted to show that as the rate stays level and stabilizes, the levy still goes up as our AV goes up. So I kind of wanted to provide a little bit of information about that as well. So as I've said before, we are in a good place financially at Summon Dearborn. We did see a slight drop in our overall cash balance this year. We did decide to provide significant raises for our staff again, even though we knew that our cash balance was going to kind of stabilize for a little bit. So even though our cash balance stabilizes, stays the same, as our expenses go up, then our percent drops a little bit. So we do recover from that, and we're in a good position. We do see our rainy day growing in a few years to probably closer to $6 to $7 million eventually. Any questions on the financial conditions report?
That's the strongest I've seen in a very long time. It's good.
Okay. Very good, thank you. All right. That is it for our Board of Finance meeting, other than one thing. We need to adjourn. A motion.
I got you.
Ms. Hilton, wasn't having any other way.
Thanks.
We have a second.
Second.
Cole, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.